What is going on? Welcome to the pod. Today we're chatting about the core. Everyone wants a stronger core, right? However, I see a lot of folks making a really fundamental mistake when it comes to developing core strength. And so we are going to chat about what the core actually is, what sort of athletes or folks have the strongest midlines, what that can teach us about how to build our own core strength, as well as a whole bunch of specific exercises that are going to give you a solid foundation. First of all, let's address the biggest core training blunder. It is a classic mirror muscle mistake. And what I mean by that is, when you see someone, typically dudes, that have a really well-developed chest or pecs and or front delts. The front delt is the front of the shoulder. And then their backs are super underdeveloped and essentially just flat. There's a whole bunch of muscle on the front and very little, if any, on the back end. These folks are typically doing a lot of horizontal pressing, like the bench press, yet completely neglecting their backs via things like deadlifts, bent over rows, pull-ups, etc. Hence the mirror muscle phenomenon. Anything that they can see, they train, but they skip the backside of their bodies. The same concept applies here to the core. Folks do crunches and sit-ups until the cows come home for their abs, but then often totally disregard muscles like their spinal erectors, which are basically the abs of the back. Those are the two column-like muscles that run up your back on either side of your spine. Now, the quote-unquote core is basically your whole body because everything is involved, but it's surely your entire torso. So it goes from essentially your neck all the way down to your fun bits. And so if you are after a truly strong core, yes, you want to train the muscles on the front of your torso, like your abs. However, you also need to give some love to the muscles on the back of your torso. Training only your abs when you want a strong core is like only renovating the front half of your house. That would be ridiculous, right? Renovate the whole thing. We want everything to match. Now, who are some of the folks with the strongest cores? Folks who compete in the sport of strongman or strongwoman have really solid core strength, as well as athletes, specifically athletes like wrestlers, MMA fighters, American football players. And a really simple way to think about it is that folks that have a strong core tend to be more difficult to move. So if you push them from the front, the back, or the side, they just feel solid. And we're not talking about someone who is just really heavy, right? Because sure, someone who is 400 pounds is going to be difficult to move, but for different reasons. We're talking about true strength, no matter how light or heavy you are. Okay, so now let's get to the specifics. How can you develop your core? First and foremost, focus on the main lifts, i.e. things like squats, deadlifts, bent over rows, pull-ups, push-ups, bench press, overhead pressing, etc. And you might be thinking, Marcus, you haven't even mentioned a direct ab exercise yet. And you're right. The cool thing about these foundational lifts is that there is so much stabilization through your core that is required that you indirectly target your core musculature in virtually every one of these movements. Having said that, we will get to some direct ab work because I do think that it is super useful. But before we do, exercises like heavy carries are also awesome for developing core strength. So for example, carrying around some heavy dumbbells like suitcases and just walking with them and letting your body figure out how to brace and balance that resistance while moving is amazing. Also, doing heavy carries while holding dumbbells or kettlebells over your head are awesome for core strength. And when you try these, believe me, you will feel it because your body just sort of lights up and all of the muscles that are involved in stabilizing your core with weight over your head are working like crazy. In terms of direct abdominal work, you can do things like crunches, sit-ups, leg raises, hanging leg raises, medicine ball twists, and even static holds like planks and side planks. However, if you are crunched for time, pun intended, I would recommend focusing on the big foundational lifts as well as the heavy carries first, just because they are going to give you more bang for your buck in terms of overall core training and strength. Even something like running, especially sprinting, can do a pretty darn good job of strengthening your core. And if you don't believe me, just go do, say, 8 to 10 all-out sprints for like 50 yards and tell me that you're not sore in some strange places, like your abs or your mid and upper back. Sure, your legs are going to feel it, especially your hamstrings and probably your calves, but sprinting is truly a full body exercise. I'd highly recommend it. So the take-home point here is that true core strength and development is not achieved via doing 1,000 crunches while you watch TV. Focus on the big lifts, move your entire body, and be sure not to neglect your back, especially via things like deadlifts, because your spine is literally the foundation of your entire body. Also, it's super common for folks with quote-unquote bad backs to avoid exercises like the deadlift. But 98% of the time, that's actually exactly what they need to be doing because their backs are just weak, and avoiding strengthening those muscles are a key factor in what's keeping them from having a quote-unquote good back. Now, typically the toughest part about implementing exercises like the deadlift isn't actually physical. It's more mental. A lot of folks tend to be scared to go heavy on movements like this, and there's a great workaround here. Start light, dial in your form, and work your way up slowly. There is absolutely no rush, and you want to give your body time to adapt. Lastly, if you are training your core to get a six-pack, it's not going to work because you could have the biggest and strongest abs in the world, but if they have fat covering them up visually, you are never going to see them. Meaning, if you are after visual abs or a tighter or toned stomach, you need to lose fat. And when it comes to fat loss, nutrition is the key. The truth is, you already have a six-pack. Everyone does. It's just a matter of getting lean enough to reveal it. If you're interested in applying for one-on-one nutritional coaching and or workout design with me, you can click the link in the description below or head on over to n1fitness.com/coaching. On Instagram, I'm at N1Fitness. On TikTok, I'm at the N1Fitness. And on YouTube, I am at marcussadoo/N1Fitness. If you'd like to, feel free to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform and be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that you found this core training episode useful, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.